Hello and welcome to Follow Everton. I'm Ryan and I'm joined with Mabsy and Basil to discuss Marcel Brands' contract. It's been reported today, directly from the horse's mouth, so to speak, that he will be signing on probably for another 2 or 3 years. I'd like your initial reaction, guys.
Yeah, I think it's positive news. I mean, it's better than what Steve Walsh ever did, didn't he? So,
That didn't take much.
destroyed us.
Steve Walsh was a joke director of football, so yeah, anything's an upgrade. But yeah, initial reaction, I'm pretty pleased to hear that news, and I'm hoping he does sign the contract. And I think we're going to look into what he's been doing, aren't we?
Yeah, we're gonna take a look back at some of the transfers, incomings and outgoings that he has made since he's been here. That's 2.5 years worth of transfers. And we're gonna get Mabsy and Basil to assess how they think he performed with those transfers. Were they good signings? Were they good value for money? Have they proven to be good value for money? And the outgoings, has he done well getting rid of the players as good as he could have? So we're going to go back to 2018, 2019. Marcel joined in the summer along with Marco Silva. And the first signing that he made was a certain Richarlison from Watford. Now, this obviously has been a resounding success, given the goals output that he has made and the increase in value. But I'd like you to touch on that particular signing and your thoughts on how you think the £40 million has proved, has it proved to be good value for money?
Well, 50 million down the drain. No, I'm kidding. Of course, it was a lot of money at the time. And I remember everyone in the media saying, why have you paid 50 million for Richarlison? But I think he's proved the pundits right. It was a good deal, and Watford thought they had our pants down when we actually got a better deal.
Yeah, I mean, we'll come on to this comment from Oliver very shortly. That is a really, really important thing to take into consideration. If that is factually correct, might I add, I can't confirm that right now, but it wouldn't surprise me. Obviously, you can't look at a signing like Richarlison and isolate him as one of the reasons why we've been one of the biggest spenders. You can argue we've spent the most money and had the least success, and that isn't acceptable, really, when you think about what other teams have achieved in that time and with less money. But Richarlison's obviously proven to be an outstanding signing. And also in that window, Marcel brought in Luca Dean from Barcelona for 18 million and Yerry Mina from Barcelona for approximately 22 to 25 million pounds. And he also signed Bernard on a free transfer. So his first window, I would say, was a successful one. Would you agree?
Yeah, I've got to say that the first window was pretty successful. I mean, obviously we have the benefit of hindsight. We can look at how those players have performed. And taking them individually, Richarlison has been integral to the team. Dean looks a steal now at 18 million. And Mina obviously had his injury problems for the first couple of seasons. Looks to have got a bit more of a consistency to his game now. Bernard on a free. So, even if we resell Bernard possibly in the summer, as he nearly went in January, we should make some money back for him. I just want to say that this window was a pretty difficult window for him coming into the club. We have been on a bit of a downward spiral the past few years, going back further than, are we talking 2017 for this window? So, he didn't come into a team in the Champions League. So, and he come into a team where Mashiri just injected a lot of cash. So anyone we went to get a player would just demand a lot more money. So like the Richarlison transfer was an extortionate fee, really, on the face of it. But that's just because everyone knows we had the money at the time.
Yeah, he was brought in to kind of pick up the pieces from quite a big mess that Steve Walsh had managed to conjure up. I mean, they'd signed players like Nias, and even the fees for the likes of Pickford and Keane seem a bit excessive at the time, 30 million. So there had been a lot of wild spending under the previous regime, and I think it was difficult for him to come in that window. And I think the priority, as well as because the quality of the squad was really poor, the priority initially try and inject some quality in and get rid of some of the players that weren't doing anything. I mean, a look at some of the players that left in that initial summer, and you've got Davy Klaassen, who went to Werder Bremen for 12 million. And I think he did well to get something for him, considering he hadn't played for 12 months, and kind of becomes sort of an enigma, or one of those figures people make a mock of. And then other transfer players that left.
So that's where it stops, though. Then we go into loans.
Yeah, but we got money for Funes Mori and Vlasic. What do you think about the Vlasic one? I mean, I think they got 10 million for him, but he's proven to be quite a successful player at CSK Moscow. Do you think Marcel made a mistake letting him go? Do you think the club made a mistake letting him go? And if so, do you think the fee was, a good fee at the time?
Yeah, but he wasn't being played. He wasn't in Silva's plans, was he? So
it's difficult because, I mean, you can look at Vlasic, you can look at later on Lookman. Neither of them were really getting in the team on a consistent basis, and you could see their heads weren't really with us 100%, and I got the feeling they wanted to go. So what can you really do in that situation? You could argue now you've seen Vlasic has performed pretty well for someone of his age. He's really young still. So you could have a slight regret with that, but at the time I think we had too many options. You got to remember we brought in those three. I think he came in the same time we bought Sigurdsson and Rooney, and it was like a packed number 10s, and really Vlasic is a number 10. So
yeah,
he wasn't ever going to get in position.
I just think sometimes when you look at it and you look at, like, say, the likes of Moscow and the different leagues. Different paces, different quality. So, sometimes he's going to shine in what is essentially shit footballers, isn't he?
Mm.
Well, no, it's true, isn't it?
The Champions League, he did score, if I remember right. Did he score 2 or 3 goals against?
I think he scored against Madrid, yeah.
In the Champions League game. So, he did prove he could do it on a bigger stage. And he's in the Croatian national team now. I think on a pretty regular basis. So, he has developed as a player from that move.
So we would say that the first season that he come in, that first transfer window, he made some good signings. I mean, Bernard has by no means been a failure, and it was a free transfer. And the signings of Mina, Digne, and Richarlison have proven to be very good signings. And the players out, he did okay, but we still had a lot of players we needed to get rid of in that initial window. Moving forward to look at the following season, I personally would argue that was a poor transfer window. Well, I think we spent a lot of money on. Yeah, I mean,
25 million for Gbamin. Well, he's not even played. He's just a sick note. Has he played once, twice? Has he? Or I don't know.
90 minutes. He played 1.5 games. I remember I got slaughtered actually for his debut because I was not happy with it. And he clearly wasn't fit. And I don't know whether playing a player that isn't fit and then them getting injured, can you blame him? Because if he wasn't fit to play, I remember it was against Crystal Palace. He came into the side and he looked completely off it. And he wasn't fit, and then he got injured, and we've not seen him since.
It's been 2 years, 2 seasons, and, you got to question, is he just getting injured because he doesn't want to play for us? But then
he won't play for us again. I'm convinced of it. I think he's an insurance job.
Ridiculous. It's just that's 20 million down the drain, so that's epic fail.
Well, I mean, the ultimate aim of this video is assessing Brands' performance and how we react to him moving forward. And who could have told that a player would be out for 18 months?
Yeah.
I'm not sure what his injury record was pre-signing, but obviously has been just a casualty the whole time.
Yeah, but you've got to judge him on what he's done, and you've got to question if he's been injured.
I think you've got to look back at the time and think, well, what did we need that summer? I think we needed a defensive midfielder, and that's what the aim was. We needed to shore up that area, and he brought one in. But I mean, you could argue he brought 2 in. And that's why the following season we had to rectify that. And you could say, well, why didn't you do that the year before?
So do you think it was bad business to bring him in? I mean, obviously we're looking at it from that perspective of Was the transfer good value for money? At the moment, obviously, no. I think Everton would get nothing for him tomorrow. Has he proven to be an effective signing? No, obviously not. But it's probably not fair to criticize Brands for that, because he couldn't have possibly known that a player with a previously very good injury record would come and be, spend most of his time out on the sidelines. But you could argue that the decision to sell Idrissa Gueye and bring him in overall was a really bad mistake from the club.
Let's be honest, Gueye was promised he could leave. That wasn't. He was going no matter what.
And the 30 million that we got for him, you'd say was a very good piece of business. Yeah. If you isolate that, and given his age and the type of player that he is, i.e., he's not a forward.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on, looking at some of the other players he brought in, I've got Moise Kean, a £24 million from Juventus. We'll touch on him in a moment. Alex Iwobi from Arsenal, 34 million. Apparently, I mean, I don't think we paid that up front for him. Jared Branthwaite, of course, from Carlisle, undisclosed fee, and Niles Nkunku from Marseille. I don't know why this is.
I think that's to do with the pre-contract agreement.
Yeah, okay. Not quite sure why that's on our list. But looking at the Alex Iwobi and the Moise Kean deals, Basil, what do you think? I mean, the Moise Kean is a difficult one, really, because we didn't pay much for him. Massive reputation, came in 19 years of age, extremely highly regarded player in Europe. And he really struggled in his first season, and he's gone to PSG, and he's looked sensational, as we put in the article on followeverton.com earlier. He's looked sensational at PSG. I mean, so I'd be intrigued to know, do you think the signing then in that context is a successful one, because eventually, we will get big money for him, or he will come back and be successful? Or has it proven to be a poor signing, given we needed a striker badly when he came in, and Keane didn't do the business?
Yeah, you've just hit the nail on the head there. We were crying out for a striker, and at that point, Calvert-Lewin wasn't really scoring at all. He was having the odd good game where he'd hold the ball up and contribute, but he wasn't getting the regular goals that he has been this season. So yeah, we were crying out for a striker, and everyone was desperate to bring Moyes in. It was going on for weeks, mini saga, and we got him. But yeah, you can argue it in two ways. Obviously, the one way that you're going to make money out of this transfer now, because he's going to be worth more than we paid. But it did leave us short of a striker, didn't it, for the whole year, really, because he didn't really contribute anything.
I'm going to sound controversial here, and I hate to say it, and it sickens me to say it, but actually, Graham Souness was right.
Could you elaborate for us?
We all slaughtered him, saying that he had an attitude problem, blah blah blah, and you know what? He's turned out to be right on that one. I know he's a bitter red and that, but you've got to give him credit. So
he's more than that.
He saw that. He saw that in it, didn't he? So I hate myself for saying it. I hate seeing it with a passion.
It's frustrating, isn't it? Because there's possibly a player in there, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be the right fit. It doesn't seem like it's going to work.
But you have to say,
but Souness saw that, didn't he?
Yeah. You have to look at it.
Why did Souness see it and not anyone at Everton?
Well, I think he did. That's why he stayed on the bench most of the year and then got loaned out. I think we know that. I mean, he's what is he? 19 now? 20?
And I think I just want to interrupt there and say that you could stick Niasse in that PSG team, he'd still probably score. Because if you look at how good the players are playing with and the players are playing against, it doesn't really take that much. And then also look at the goals that Keane has scored. They're mostly tap-ins and marked and with loads of space. I wouldn't argue he's done anything spectacular and wowed people. But the goals that he scored overall, the record for him at his age, it is a sensational record for him.
Yeah. I've never forgiven him against United, to be honest with you. His attitude that day when he got pulled off by Ferguson, no, not a player for me.
So do you think Marcel Brands made a poor judgment to sign him
I
at
think
that time when we needed a striker so badly?
at the time, but if we get more than what we paid for him, then overall, then it's not, is it?
It's difficult to classify the Moise Kean signing as a bad signing, in my view, because
And what do you think? Like, comment below if you think Moise Kean was a good signing or a bad signing. Would be intrigued to hear.
Obviously, it didn't help the team, but ultimately, you look back at the list of players we have signed in the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years, and he does not rank anywhere near close to, you know, a worst 10 of that group. You know, we could have signed, you know, Unias, and that been the striker that we thought we were getting to lead the line, but no, you know, at least he shows some promise and he will have some resale value.
Yeah.
Moving on to it is a difficult one. You know, it's a difficult one to judge at this stage because he could well come back to Everton and prove to be an amazing striker for us, or it could go on. You know, we could get 50 million for him, and again, that's a really good business.
Just remember when we signed him, you know, Brands was there, wasn't he, saying to his mum, you know, we'll take care of your son and all that, and that was the Everton touch. It was though. It was the Everton touch, and he's basically not repaid us that way, has he? Let's be honest.
The Everton touch is probably why he's not turned out to be very good for him. The Everton touch can sometimes go the wrong way, but yeah, it is quite difficult to analyze with him because, as I say, he could come back, be amazing for us, and then we'll all be saying what a brilliant signing. It was a long-term deal. He was never going to hit the ground running straight away, or he goes and we make money on him. But it was a genius loan move from Brands, in my opinion, because he sent him to a team where he can't not score, and either way, it's going to increase his value.
Well,
arguably, has that left us short this season?
Left us very short this season.
Left us short, but it was a good deal in terms of, I think he was going somewhere else, and then they had a right to buy him. But now he went to PSG was it his old club, wasn't it? It was meant to be. Who was his old club?
Juventus.
Juventus meant to be signing him, and they were going to put a buyback clause in after the year, but Brands probably negotiated with PSG without the buyback. So
yeah, he did. As I'm aware, there is no buyback. So you know, we hold all the cards now. So yeah, from a selling point, it's a great loan, isn't it? Because you know, he's going to score goals in France. He's going to develop. He's young. He's playing with world-class players, and he's going to have a resale value. Maybe Brands thought in the summer we've just had that maybe he had a conversation with Ancelotti, and they just thought he wasn't going to be what we needed, and just try and get his market value up.
Yeah, and again, you're right. It has left us short. And
scoring in the Champions League. And we're to score.
Yeah.
So.
We can't hit a barn door with a banjo in half the games, and you've got him scoring goals against Barcelona. I mean, it doesn't take much when you've got Ronald Koeman, though, in charge of Barcelona, so I wouldn't read too much into that. Moving on then, are we happy to look at the signing of Alex Iwobi? At the time, I think we were all really keen to get Zaha in. And I think when we didn't get Zaha, it was kind of like, oh, we must get someone. And we all kind of got really excited about Iwobi. I remember watching him in the Europa League final. I think it was against Chelsea. Can't quite recall. I think he played left mid. I think he scored as well. He looked really good. And I thought, hadn't seen much of him before that. And I thought, if it was basing it off that, I liked the player. He looked really determined. The fee, though, was reported as 28 million, rising to 34 million. I have to say, you know, I like to be quite diplomatic, but I'm being underwhelmed with Alex Iwobi.
He's hit and miss.
You can't rely on him. You don't know which version of him is going to turn up.
Exactly, and this is the point. This is the problem with the Everton.
We've just lost Mabsy. We'll bring him back. Oh, there he is.
So what was I saying? So it's just hit and miss again. Most of the squad, it's just hit and bloody miss. There's no consistency ever.
He's not a consistent performer. Like Keane wasn't a consistent performer. I mean, you can look at the free signings as a whole, And you can think of, if you look at the fees that are reported, the 25 million for Gbamin's been injured for 18 months. Keane's 25 million possibly rising to, and didn't really came off the bench a few times, didn't really do anything. Iwobi, very consistent season for 35 million. So really, if you add that up and you're on like 70, 80 million, you haven't got a lot of money in that summer of 2019.
I think it was a poor window. I'm not going to lie, because you have to look at it in the moment that was, and I think I think we should have signed someone with more experience to play up front. And I think Iwobi, we've had our pants down quite badly with that, because I think we've overpaid. I think he's a decent squad player, someone you could develop. He didn't really have much of a goal record at Arsenal, and I think we need more from our wide men. And I don't think he's ever going to be the type of winger who's going to score a lot of goals and make a lot of goals himself. His crossing's appalling.
He doesn't get in the right position to score
Couldn't
goals.
play noughts and crosses. He's that bad at crossing.
He hasn't got a lot of pace. I mean, what has he got going for him? He can dribble. He's shown he can get past a man and make half a yard and pass a ball.
And he's quite strong.
Yeah, he can be physical, but he's just not. I think he's just a little bit of a letdown, in my opinion. What we wanted, we thought we were getting Zaha, someone with pace, with trickery, with skill, who could find the net. I know he's not a consistent scorer, but he did get chipping with a few goals for Palace each year. So I think it was just a bit deflating, but we were desperate. We were like clinging on for somebody, and Iwobi came in, and we were like, oh yeah, Iwobi. And then within 2 games, he scored the goal. We were like, yeah, good sign it. And then it all went downhill from that point.
So okay.
You've got to look overall at this window just before we move on to the following. The players that he brought in, I just want to touch on the fact they were all youngsters. Branthwaite, Iwobi, Keane, and Gbamin, they're all like under 24. So that strategy changed, didn't it, in the following year, which I think we're going to come on to having a look at.
Yeah, I'm just looking a little bit at the players out. We got rid of James McCarthy. It wasn't the fee that you're looking at on that list there. It was a nominal fee. Onyekuru, who never kicked a ball for us, also left. We managed to get rid of Ashley Williams, thank God, and Morales. And I think good business in the end. I mean, you couldn't really expect too much. I think it was a case of just trying to get, particularly with Williams and Morales, I think he did well to get them off the books. And looking at McCarthy, maybe he could have been quite useful actually in that season, given how short we were in midfield. I remember a lot of games we were wide open, we had no one. Around December time, not quite sure it was the best decision in hindsight to have sold him to Palace. Even though I don't think he played that much for them, but it would have been another body. How would you assess the players out that left that window?
The start of getting rid of the deadwood,
So much deadwood.
To be honest, I mean, you got Schneider out as well. Don't forget.
Well, you've got to look at Schneidlin, and it was a free transfer. Is that good business for someone we paid 25 million?
Not the Schneidlin deal, because that happened a bit later. But I also want to talk about a little bit about the signings that we didn't get rid of, the players that we didn't get rid of up to that point. We were lumbered with, and we've only really just got rid of them, in future windows. I'm talking about the likes of Nias, the likes of Martina. They were still Everton players. Balassi, they were all still on the books. The list goes on. Tosin. Honest to God,
we had such a deep squad of rubbish players accumulated from a series of different managers coming in and out the door. Brands has such a difficult job to clear them out, and you can see if you look through the lists of the players out each year, it's filled with deadwood and kids who can't get into the team, or players who couldn't travel into the country in the case of So, but it's going to take time to clear that out.
We will go and look at the next transfer window, and then we're going to assess it as a whole, because I think that's really important. We kind of just do a little run through the players first, but when we do assess it on a whole, overall, it's important to look at what we didn't do. I think as well as what we have done, because I think there have been missed opportunities, and there's been certain things such as not signing a fullback, a left back maybe last window, when we left without a striker the previous season, allowing Walcott to go. I think there's a few controversial decisions that we'll touch on a little bit later. But moving into the 2021 season, he signed, and this is why I think this is important to analyze Brands, because I don't think, I know the fees and the negotiations done, a lot of it is done with Brands and Bill Kenwright, but a player like Alan and also James Rodriguez, they don't sign for Everton for Brands. They don't sign under other managers. They've come for Carlo, and I think it is Ancelotti who's got to take a lot of the credit for bringing them players in. But how would you assess Marcel Brands in terms of those two incomings? Do you think he did well?
Well, yeah, because at the end of the day, Carlo doesn't negotiate the deal. So, you're looking at James, James was on a freebie,
Yeah.
That sort of quality player on a free, he's remarkable, let's be honest. I mean, I think Alan, 21 million, I think that's a good deal as well, personally. Two big names, and we've got them playing at Goodison. Can't go and see them, but they're playing.
Yeah. All four of the signings I think we made, you talk about Decore as well and Ben Godfrey, all four of those signings, good value for money. I think we've done really well. Ancelotti actually said he didn't really know much about Ben Godfrey, which makes me think that was more of a Marcel Brands and his scouts.
He's going to be something else.
Fantastic.
You could argue that.
Something else.
I mean, long term, he could be the best of the lot, really. The potential he has.
The longevity, I think he's got attributes that we have lacked really badly.
Well, he's got the attributes to be a top class
run for a start.
If you look at the difference between, I know you're saying about Carlo Ancelotti, and no doubtably he's had an influence. So spending 80 million in the previous summer with Keane and Gabambi and Iwobi, and then the following year about the same money for a little bit more to get Alan, James, Decore, Godfrey. That it doesn't really compare those two windows, so that that the influx of Ancelotti has accelerated things. But where you've got to give Brands credit is, as far as I'm aware, in the deals themselves, they've managed to get the contracts to quite short contracts, relatively short compared to what we have done in the past. Not being prepared to give out 4 and 5 year deals, and trying to limit these players who we know aren't really, they're young. It's a change of tactic with the Decore, James and Alan. They're stopgap players to come into the team now and add quality in their late 20s, and we haven't tied them down, so they have to keep performing in order to get a new contract, which I think he's been clever to do.
Yeah,
I think they were strong deals. Mabsy, would you like to elaborate on that?
I just think also the Josh King was massive. I think that was a great bit of business, because it's no risk to us. So we don't pay Bournemouth anything unless we sign them, which everyone's those talks about. We paid 6 million. I think for Fulham we want paying going to pay 6 million for 6 months.
Yeah, and what we believe
that structure is brilliant.
What we believe is it was a nominal fee for Josh King, and if he does sign on for a longer contract, we will owe Bournemouth money.
So whoever signs him, if we do, or whoever does, will pay the fee.
No. If we sign him.
If he signs somebody else, we don't pay anymore.
Somebody else has to pay the fee for him coming out of his contract. Compensation fee.
No, it's free, isn't it?
No, if we sign him, we have to pay the compensation fee for the end of his contract.
Yeah, but I'm trying to say we pay the transfer fee because his contract ends in the summer.
I'm not sure how that deal's structured, but I'll take Brian's word on that one.
I've explained. Andy's Matsy's completely perplexed how you don't understand how a free transfer is a free transfer. But if the clause, the agreement that Everton and Bournemouth made was that if he does sign longer with us, we will owe them a fee. It's a little bit like what happened with Gareth Barry when he signed on a free transfer. Had he joined anyone else, he wouldn't. There would be no fee payable. Obviously, of course, the player gets a signing on fee. But if Barry made his loan permanent, we had to pay Man City 2 million, which we did. So very similar deal. I don't think it would be anywhere near 2 million, to be honest, either. And I think there'll be plenty of goal clauses and Champions League qualification clauses and all that type of thing in there anyway. But it was good that you brought that one up. But yeah, overall, I think if you'd have asked me to assess that window, I would say it's been so far really successful. Certainly in comparison to the previous window, where maybe if you'd asked me to assess Brands' performance in the first 2 seasons, I would have sat on the fence and said I was a bit underwhelmed. That second season really didn't do much for me. I think now, obviously, I think people generally look more favourable towards him and think he's done some pieces of really good business. Just before we look at everything as a whole, the players that left, that did leave, the likes of Luke Garbett, Sandro Ramirez, and Lursel, who's just gone now. But players that were loaned out, an awful lot of loans, and it's quite infuriating when we're getting rid of players and we just can't get them off the books. And the likes of Balassi, we're probably paying 50% of his wages. I know we're paying 60% of Theo Walcott's wages, and also the same with Cenk Tosun. So we've loaned a lot of players. We're paying their wages to play for the teams. I don't give him a lot of credit for this element of the business, because I think we could be doing more.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, that shit, he's going to get. The other clubs don't be taking that risk, do they?
Do you think COVID's affected all that?
I don't like Walcott. I mean, at the end of the day, we should have kept Walcott, but personally,
yeah, totally agree.
I think, but you know what? It's moved 60%, 40% not paying, saving you 40%. What I don't know what we're paying Balassi, but how much were we paying?
A lot of money.
Balassi is on 80,000 a week.
Off a lot of money is a lot. Yeah, you know. So, for instance, we're paying. He was on, I don't know, 80 grand, for instance. Still 40 grand. You know, it's still 40 grand off the books. And then he's gone at the end of the season anyway. So,
but I mean, he had the opportunity to get Balassi out in the summer, and I think he was close to getting out to Middlesbrough, but the deal was left so late that it didn't go through. So we end up paying all that money you've just said we could have saved. So I know it's only a small thing, and some player he has got rid of players. This he obviously Martina, Nias, when
they were on a free.
Well, their contracts expired. So
that's what I mean. And you can look at that, and they've not signed for anyone else, which shows where they're at. I think if we're talking on a whole now, which I think we should move on to in terms of the analysis, I think he could have done better to get rid of the players that he has done. Because a lot of the time it was only when contracts were expiring that he was able to get rid of them, or when they had very little time left where he could maybe finally get rid of them. But there was an awful lot of loans. Any more loans, and we might as well call ourselves the Barclays Bank.
Yeah, it is a strange one this last season. We've just gone crazy on the loans. I didn't understand the Theo Walcott one, because we have lacked pace, and James, we knew he had an injury history, and we didn't know how he was going to perform consistently in the league. So Walcott was the one to go. That's the only thing. He must have said, "I want to go," but
back to his own time.
He wanted to go and play.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough, isn't it? Hopefully he'll come back. Hopefully he's still contracted to as they come back.
No. Walcott?
He's out of contract in the summer.
Oh, is he? Okay. Well then, yeah.
So in theory, it goes on what we've just said. They'll have to pay us a nominal fee.
No, they didn't arrange that.
Part of the deal.
Just like to put a clause in that, just to clarify, no arrangement was made between Everton and Southampton over that. He will leave as a free agent in the summer regardless. And the point we were making was maybe we should have kept him. Basil's looking awfully confused with something he'd normally get. So overall, you're happy that he's going to be staying, or because Everton are heavily linked with an Iranian Ali Dia. Don't really know too much about this really, but they were linked with him potentially coming in as director of football. That link seems to have faded, and it's all on Brands. And Farhad Bashiri told TalkSport today that the club are happy with him, and he is happy here. So it looks like it's close to being done.
Mm.
Yeah,
well,
I'm happy staying.
It looks like Brands isn't the sort of character who likes to go chopping and changing between clubs, and I think he stayed at PSV. Was it PSV for about 8 years? So he doesn't look like the type of character to just dump the project halfway through for a Champions League side. So it looks like it's going to happen.
Yeah, it does. And in terms of the overall analysis of the things he did and didn't do, where do you think he sits in terms of directors of football, particularly in the Premier League? Do you think he's been one of the better director of football sporting directors?
I mean, look at that Michael Edwards across the park, and those dickheads rave on about him. It's like, well, how has he set the world alight? He got Thiago and paid 25 million, but it's okay. We got him in installments. Brilliant.
24 months, $9.99 a month for 24 months for the first.
Exactly. That's the way football deals are structured, and those dickheads were like wanking off to it. Don't get it. We got Alves Rodriguez on a free. You know what I mean?
No, there's no comparison. There's absolutely no comparison, but Basil, do you think we're in terms of looking at the other director of footballs in the Premier League, do you think Brands himself has kind of stood out? Do you think because he was linked with Manchester United recently, potentially going there? Do you think other clubs have taken notice? Do you think he's regarded as successful at Everton in the wider Premier League community?
I think they have. They have taken notice. I heard those Man United links as well. I think particularly after the summer we've just had and the signings that came in, I think that's why clubs have taken notice now. If you look at performance as a whole, personally, I think he did well in the first summer. He did well this summer. Last summer was hit and miss, and in terms of his outgoings, he didn't perform possibly as well as he could have done. But I think most Everton fans are more concerned about who's playing for them. And I know we don't want to see this thick, packed squad of dead wood. But yeah, I'm pleased to see some of the signings that have just come in the last 6 months, and I'm excited to see who else he can bring in with Carlo's contact book.
Has he left us too short though, particularly this season where we look quite thin, particularly out wide and up front?
We're thin in attack, definitely.
Yeah,
but I think we've had to adapt, haven't we? We've had centre backs playing at fullback. I mean, if that hadn't have happened, we would have said we were thin at fullback because Nkunku obviously doesn't trust him to play as the second left back. So we basically went into the season with one left back, you could argue, and an aging Coleman. So he didn't address all the holes we had in the squad, and I think he needs a few more windows to get to the bottom of that. And you look in a couple of years' time, we might not have James, and Alan will be 31. So we're going to have new problems by that point. So it's imperative now that we progress, we try and get into Europe, and we try and build the squad and get younger players as well as experienced players.
What do you want to see from him moving forward? Because it is quite clear that we need reinforcements, maybe another right back, another winger who can, with a lot more pace, who can be more direct. So this summer, you think in terms of right now coming into the team, we need a right full back and a right winger, and maybe another defensive midfielder as cover. And I'd like to see that being someone younger who could maybe step up and take over from Alan when his legs go, and look more to the future in terms of replacing those older players, because Sigurdsson's getting on. of course, we need to get rid of the likes of Delph and bring in some younger players who can be the meat and the bones of the squad. And then if we do get in the Europa League, they'll have obviously the opportunities in the Europa League, and then over time they develop and they've got more of an impact in the Premier League. So, where would you like to see the recruitment this summer, and what do you think Marcel Brands needs to do this summer to make it a success?
A striker.
So you're saying Keane's gone definitely, and you want another striker?
Yeah, definitely. I think. No, we need the light up front. You know, we need an out-and-out striker. It really annoys me that we've been begging out for 20 years, a 20-goal season, man. We got one, and then we sold the next window in Lukaku and didn't replace him. We need a striker. We need a proven striker as well.
Do you blame Brands for that? Because I'm not happy about that, really.
Yeah, but we can see it as fans, but none of the club can see it, and I don't get why they've never. The problem being goes back to us selling Lukaku.
So you think that for this summer to be successful, we need to have another striker coming in, regardless of Josh King, regardless of the Moise Kean situation?
You know what? I don't get, because he's not playing Josh King. Why not? I don't get it. I don't understand why he's not, when Calvert-Lewin's not there. Why is he not starting Josh King? Why wasn't he starting at City? Why not?
He hasn't scored this season in any level.
So what though? Why did we buy him and then not give the lad a chance?
Would you start? I mean, it's
what was on the pitch.
Without going too off topic, we'll save that for the Derby preview.
Josh King's trying to rectify. I don't know whether you would call it a mistake, but I think if we put ourselves back just for a minute, back into the summer, and think about the players we needed the centre midfielders. That was the biggest hole in our team. We brought two in. You could argue James is a centre midfielder. I think everyone would have said as well about the right back. I think there was a lot of talks about would like a right back if we can. I'd like a right winger. Right back got completely ignored. Right winger was brought in inverted commas. James is the right winger that we were asking for. But
we made the team even slower, which we thought was impossible.
I think we have to buy a proper right winger, or can play across the forward line with pace. I also agree we need a striker, but I don't think we need what you're saying. I don't think we need someone who's going to start. I think we need a backup to Calvert-Lewin with a similar profile to Calvert-Lewin, as well as having someone like King who has a different option of more pace and directness.
I'm going to disagree with you there, because I think we actually need a striker with a different profile who could maybe play off the sides as well, because at the moment
we need a similar profile when Calvert-Lewin is injured, as you saw against Fulham when we couldn't hold the ball up, because our different striker was Richarlison.
He won't play because he'll just sit on the bench. If we bring someone in who's like a lesser version of Calvert-Lewin, he won't play unless he's injured, and he's not. We hope he's not going to be injured all the time. So I'd like to see someone of real quality who can play up front and cover if needed, but can also play in those other front three positions, because I think that's what we need. Players that are going to be involved. I don't think we can afford a luxury player to sit on the bench and not play and be a Calvert-Lewin Mark II.
Moise Keane's going to come back, and he's arguably going to be that.
Is he going to come back?
Well, he's got to come back.
Why is he going to come back?
Liverpool. He's going to come back.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to play for Everton again.
He may not want to come back.
Might not play, but he's going to come back in the summer. He probably won't play again, but we're going to probably sell him, and then we're going to need to buy a striker. We're going to need to buy a striker.
Yeah, well, I've already said that, haven't I? So
it's. Yes, but for me, I don't think that's the priority. Right, I know I'm going to disagree with you there. I'm going to say that we need a right winger. And even more priority to that is a right back. And I'd even put the goalkeeper possibly higher than buying a striker.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're going to do a separate video. We're going to do another video about the goalkeeping situation, because it is.
So basically what you're saying is David needs to buy a whole new team.
Well, if we have aspirations of being in the Champions League consistently, we are going to need better quality players across the team.
Our recruitment obviously is going to be really heavily influenced by where we finish. I think if we finish in the Champions League, we're going to be able to attract a really high caliber of players. Europa League, not so much, but we're going to need the numbers, and that it's difficult because you don't really want to invest in players that aren't going to have an impact overall just because we're in the Europa League. But I think
the side is extremely lacking in pace. And would you put that down to Brands hasn't addressed that very well, has he, in the last 3 years, would you say?
I don't think he has brought in the pace that we need. I don't think for the first 2 seasons he brought any energy into the midfield. Obviously, Gabamin was meant to be that player and could still be. I mean, I don't see it. But I think he has failed to inject pace into the team. And Everton fans, we want to see aggressive, high-tempo pressing. We also want to see quick, dynamic footballers, flair. We don't have any of that. We haven't had that since probably 2013. And that infuriates me that he's missed that. That is the style that we want. Comment below if you agree. And I think in the summer, he needs to find players with pace who can play. I would bring in a defensive midfielder with pace. I would bring in a right back with pace, and a right winger who could also play on the left or possibly up front if needed. But I think probably at this stage, the priority would be in goal. We're going to save that for another video, if that's okay with you two.
Yeah.
Because I think that is a really important topic to discuss. So have you got anything else to say on the Marcel Brands situation?
I think it's been said, hasn't it, really?
I think we've gone through a lot of the signings that have come in, and I think we all kind of agree that we want to give him more time. Did you say?
Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic. But I think part of it does come into the fact we don't really know. It's the unknown. What else is out there? What else could we get?
We could have another Steve Walsh. So, you know,
we could put you in charge.
Where do you assess Brands now? If you were to give him a scorecard, what ranking would you give him? You know, from A to F or whatever.
I think C must try harder.
C must try harder. Well, Mabsy, you're a tough customer. You're a tough customer to. I mean, I would give him probably a 7 because I think he's done some really good business.
7.
That's not
7 out of 10. 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10. I'd give him because I think
in like A to F. Is that a C?
A B plus maybe.
I would say a B plus.
I mean, I think I've been infuriated by the signings of Iwobi and Delph and stuff like that. At the same time, I've been, really impressed with the Richarlisons and the Rodriguez's, and we wouldn't have had them under previous managers. I think they were really good signings. Even Decore, Godfrey, Luca Dean. He's done really well to find a left back. Could be compared to Baines. So in terms of that, I would say it's a B plus. It's the only reason it's brought down is because I've been infuriated by the loans.
I'm just thinking about. I mean, you look at those players who have.
The more I think about it, I'm downgrading it a little bit, maybe to a B.
Mabsy's giving Brands a C, aren't you? If you think about the players who have come in now, the last 2 years,
I don't think he set the world alight.
No, he hasn't. But if you look at the players that have come in, they are now our starting 11 players and our bench. So you're basically ranking our whole.
Look how crap we are.
You're based on Rodriguez, James, and Allen on the Carlo Ancelotti factor, not the Brands factor.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a really good comment. That's a really fair comment.
But you want to keep Brands, do you? Despite ranking him a C, and you're not pleased with the team.
Harder, yeah, I think. Who else to go and get? I think you can't chop and change. You need to keep with the same policies, and he works well with Carlo.
I think just we need some consistency and some continuity. I think that is one of the main reasons why he's got to stay. And the worry for me is who else out there? Is it time to scrap it? Probably not. Give him another 3 years. He's not spending mega money at this stage. I think that's not going to happen until we're in the new stadium. And so can't do much wrong. He seems to make sensible decisions. And I think the only negatives, as I say, a lot of loans and a lot of times where we are infuriated because we haven't got rid of them. And in terms of his incomings, generally they've been good. He has left us short in a couple of areas and made a couple of bad decisions, but you know, it's not just him making those decisions.
Okay.
Okay, that's all from us. Thank you. You're watching Follow Everton. Please subscribe, and we'll see you again soon.